Picture what that world might look like if you turn out to be wrong, and how it would feel to be there, looking back at this moment right now, when you're watching this, and you knew that you had the opportunity to choose to be better safe than sorry, but you decided to risk it because you were afraid it might hurt the economy. How much would that suck? If you're not willing to even imagine that, if you're not willing to even entertain the possibility that you're wrong and they are right, then what does that say about the quality and honesty of your thinking and your credibility with the rest of us? Do you really want to risk being sidelined as a conspiracy theorist and ignored? If you're not yet convinced that action is in your own pragmatic best interest, then why aren't you at least campaigning for a Manpowler project to properly answer the question on which hangs your life? If you're not even doing that, then doesn't that leave the rest of us with the conclusion that you do indeed consider yourself infallible? Because you'd be setting yourself up in opposition to all these people who call for significant action now, and you'd be looking them in the eye and saying, in their realm of expertise, well, in my judgment, when I look at the evidence, it's not even worth looking at further. We can dismiss the possibility of catastrophic climate change out of hand right now and don't need to research it anymore. In fact, there's a silver bullet. Have you watched my video, The Manpowler Project, yet? Both sides of the debate will agree that we should have such a Manpowler project, and here's why. Because each side thinks the project will get us closer to the truth and dispel the untruths that the other side has spun. So we all want a Manpowler project, because everyone thinks they're right and would love further ammunition to prove the other side wrong. Wouldn't that be worth the cost of the project? Because a Manhattan Project is not going to cause a global depression. An Apollo project is not going to bankrupt the US or lead to government control of your life. So what's to lose? If we have a Manpowler project and it finds that human-caused climate change turns out to be bunk, then hey, okay, we diverted some government jobs from one sector to another. Isn't reducing the uncertainty about this at least worth that cost? Given the stakes, it seems that at this point, you as a skeptic have only two intellectually honest options. Either step aside or agitate for a Manpowler project as soon as possible. Hey, wait, you cry, that's biased. Why isn't agitating for the skeptic side included? Because with the AAAS, NAS, US Cap, and even Exxon lining up on the warmer side, you'll never find enough credible evidence on your own to take on their judgment and expertise and convince the rest of us. If you think they're wrong, the only way to convince the public and policymakers of that is by having something as weighty as a Manpowler project show it, to stack up its findings against all of those organizations. Still, if you don't believe the scientists now, then why would you believe them later as part of a Manpowler project? Which means you'll never believe them. Which means that even if it's true, you won't believe it. And now you're starting to look like the Iraqi Minister of Information, who is already known for being flagrantly out of touch with reality, but got just downright surreal during the invasion of Baghdad. You remember? Telling reporters that there were no US troops in the city, even as the reporters could hear the tanks outside. In fact, I'm a little surprised that no blogger on the warmer side has yet taken to giving out monthly Mohammed Saeed al-Sahaf awards. They could go to the hardline skeptic who best embodies the former information minister's talent for heroically persistent denial in the face of overwhelming evidence. Make no mistake, as a skeptic you are left with only two defensible choices. Either actively campaign for a Manpowler project to clarify the issue, or get out of the way. Anything else, and you would be explicitly saying to the rest of us that you don't give a rat's ass about the economic or physical well-being of anybody but yourself. Which is your prerogative, but if that's the case, then say it and stop pretending to debate. Besides, while you aren't obliged to work for the well-being of others, it is immoral of you to actively hinder those who are working for their own well-being. We've had enough. Again, if you say, but hey, I could turn that right around and say the same thing to you because your action on climate change is going to impinge on my liberties, then see above, because in the face of such overwhelming evidence, a Manpowler project is the only feasible way of accomplishing your agenda of convincing the rest of us not to take action. So become a crusader for the Manpowler project, or get the hell out of the way. Well, you've come to the end of the line. That's it. That's my best effort in getting to the truth of the matter with as much thoroughness, honesty, and self-criticism as I can muster. Thanks for taking the time. Oh, and my test for falsifiability of my claim? My claim is based on very thorough and broadly based research, and so would need similarly thorough and broadly based disproof. The main linchpin would need to be an answer to the question, how could the most trusted and established scientific organizations in the world get it so wrong? I would need to see persistent and thorough evidence along multiple lines that both the scientific processes of AAAS and NAS as organizations and the careers of a significant number of their most trusted and established individuals had been corrupted or brilliantly misled by a tremendously well-organized covert campaign of manipulation. The reporting of the evidence would need to be picked up by the major news networks and held up under scrutiny for a long period of time, say at least a year, before I considered it disproof and I'd convert to the skeptic side. It would need to be an expose of significantly greater caliber, extent, and expense than any other in history, because the conspiracy would have included more individuals by an order of magnitude than any other cover-up or conspiracy ever. Remember that AAAS has over 144,000 members, and the NAS has been around since 1863, and 1 in 10 members of the NAS has a Nobel Prize. In effect, it would need to be a significant enough, the expose would need to be of significant enough import to damage the credibility of the human endeavor of science itself for 100 years, essentially a paradigm shift away from the trust we place in science by using so much modern technology. The claim of incompetence or corruption on the part of these organizations and the majority of the individuals comprising them is extraordinary enough that I would need extraordinary evidence of an extraordinary cover-up. That's an extraordinary number of extraordinaries, but it is, in principle, possible, which makes my claim falsifiable and therefore not dismissible. How about yours?